Hello, I'm Mario Tanaguzzi with Edmonton's podcast on Canada's Podcast Network. Joining me today is AJ Slivinski, who is president of Mayfield Management Group in Edmonton. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Mario. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's just start by you telling me what Mayfield Management Group is and what you guys do.
Yeah, so Mayfield Property Management Group has been around for 30 years. We are what is called a fee-based or third-party property management company. That means that we don't own any assets. We just manage properties for owners on apartment buildings, and we help and manage condominiums and support condominium boards.
Mm-hmm. So tell me just your presence or where you're at and how many of those properties you manage.
Sure. So currently we manage about 7,500 doors. That's broken down to about 4,000 apartment or condo doors and about 3,500 apartment doors. We manage properties both in Edmonton, in Calgary.
Mm-hmm. And I know we've talked in the past. Tell me about your plans for growth for the company.
Yeah, so not only are we looking to continue our growth in Alberta, the company itself primarily started in Edmonton. We did have some customers down in the Calgary area, but recently we've really started to grow in what we call the purpose-built apartment building industry. This is where there are very amenity-rich large apartments with a demographic of basically downsizers, boomers who are downsizing, empty nesters, and then young millennials who are not really looking to buy a home today, but are looking for a permanent place to live. And that really seems to be resonating down in the Calgary market. We were working with developers who are coming from sort of the condo side of the business, where I think in the last 10 or 20 years, condos were the thing, yeah. And developers really focused in that area. But now condos are tough. A lot of people aren't buying condos like they once were. So these developers are going into this purpose-built apartment market, and they need help. They need some knowledge from companies like Mayfield Property Management that has industry experience in managing apartment buildings and purpose-built. So yeah, so we're growing. I think we're now over 1,700 doors down in the Calgary market, and growing, and future plans to continue that growth there. We've also opened up a division up in the Ontario marketplace. Mm-hmm. So we're progressing and building our strategy to move out into that side of the market or geography. And then we do have some plans also to enter into the BC market as well. So we're looking to be a national company at some point.
Okay, what does it take, in this industry, in this field, to be successful as a company? What do you need to do?
Yeah, I think when we enter into new agreements with new developers, the first thing we do is we sit down and we want to really understand their end goal. What is success to them on a particular new project, and we have that talk. We get an understanding, and then once we understand their goals, their metrics that they need to deliver success, we determine where we are today, and then we write that strategy with them to get them to that ultimate success horizon. And I think it's follow-up, it's communication. I think technology is playing a big piece in this industry. When I first bought Mayfield Property Management in 2016, the industry was very lethargic, very complacent, and I don't think they were really leveraging technology like they should. And my goal when buying the company, I wanted to make sure that we introduce the technology into the industry. Consumers, tenants today in all disciplines and in all segments of the marketplace, not just the property management, are all adapting to technology. We want answers faster, quicker, sooner. And the property management space is just getting into that realm. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're bringing. I think we need to be able to resonate and communicate with tenants in a paperless environment 24/7. and be extremely responsive and quick. And I think that, that's some of the things that need to be done to be successful in this industry.
So you mentioned you bought the company in 2016. Can you talk a little bit about the history of the company, how long it had been around,
Mm-hmm.
and just the journey to get you and why you bought this company?
Sure. Yeah. So Mayfield Management's been around for 30 years. The original owner, named Edith O'Flaherty, is still our broker. She's still a part of the vision. She really believes in where we want to go with the company and maintain Mayfield as a legacy. And I think getting to this stage, I started investing in properties, apartment buildings in 2020, so just over 20 years ago. Started with condos across Canada. And then, as you know, the saying in Monopoly, 4 greenhouses equal 1 red hotel. I wasn't going to be able to retire buying condos and living off of that cash flow. So I started trading those condos into buying apartment buildings. Focused here primarily in Edmonton because the cap rates were very favorable for landlords. And also Alberta is a great landlord-friendly province. There's very little, if any, rent controls, which makes that a very appealing, appealing investment target. So I started doing that in 2020. My professional journey started with Maple Leaf Foods back in 1987. And I started in Thunder Bay as a sales guy, carried a bag, moved out to Calgary, eventually ran Western Canada for Maple Leaf Foods. And that's where I got my sales, marketing, and operations experience. Moved to Toronto, ended up managing Walmart and Costco for North America. And where this journey really started, I left Maple Leaf and joined an online gaming company called CryptoLogic. And that's where I really got introduced to the technology piece. This was back in 2003 when, the technology, the internet, Google, all of these things now that we take so much for granted were just really in its infancy. I moved to Cyprus, of all places, to open up a call center, which really focused on customer service. And that's where I developed really and honed my skills in customer service. And I had mentioned to you before that, in our 5th year, we became the #1 contact center in the world in customer service, beating out FedEx and Carnival Cruise Lines. So that's where I really got my introduction to customer service and technology, and how technology and people and processes can deliver what the customers need today. So I ended up looking at our industry. I have a passion for investing in real estate, and thought, the property management business needed to adapt to today's new type of consumer. And so I bought Mayfield in 2016 with the sole purpose of running a property management company from an owner's perspective, but again, delivering through technology. I think the formula that we used, Mario, in Cyprus to become #1 in such a short period of time, there's 3 areas: people, processes, and technology. Processes are developed by great people. Technology is just an accelerator of great processes, but the one competitive advantage that is very hard to replicate for competitors is the people and the culture. When I looked back on my career, and why we became #1 in the world in 5 years in customer service, it was the culture and the values that we were able to develop and infuse into the culture in Cyprus. And I ended up writing a book, actually, called The Leadership Code. And the Leadership Code talks about how an organization can practically infuse values into their culture. And with those values, I think great things happen. And that's really, I think, what differentiates our companies is the people and the culture.
Mm-hmm. In your journey, AJ, what have you liked about being an entrepreneur?
I like the freedom. One of the things that when I was I always had thought and had a dream starting out of university that if I worked hard and climbed the corporate ladder, that was the true success, working for somebody else, making lots of money. But when I finally reached the pinnacle of the corporate ladder, I found out that you're basically doing a deal with the devil, because you're getting paid very well, but you have no time. I remember my wife and I traveling, and I'd have to jump on phone calls and conference calls all the time, even though I was on holidays. And that's when I thought, I need to be an entrepreneur. I need some sort of passive income. And I don't want to report to anybody. I want to be my own boss. And if I'm going to put that time and effort in, it's for our own benefit.
So do you think an entrepreneur is made or born into being an entrepreneur?
I think, to be a successful entrepreneur, I think it takes a unique type of person. You definitely can't be a follower. I think successful entrepreneurs have always been a little different. And we can all define what different might mean, but I think entrepreneurs have always been leaders, somebody who is not afraid to step outside of the box, somebody who maybe is even contrarian in their thinking. But entrepreneurs have to be somebody that's different. I think I haven't met a lot of entrepreneurs that have been successful that are the type of people that are introverted and followers of the crowd or the norm.
Yeah. So in that journey of being an entrepreneur and in the business world, along the way, have you had mentors or people that you've looked up to as seeking advice, or even books or examples of entrepreneurs out there?
Yeah, I've had many. In the book that I wrote, The Leadership Code, I actually talk about the values that I learned and the various mentors in my career that taught me certain different aspects of values and discipline, accountability, innovative thinking. There are many in my career. I'm also very, very voracious in my reading, especially early on. That was another thing. I needed to read every book on every subject, whether it was entrepreneurial, strategy, marketing, HR. Made many notes over those years that helped me write the book. But those are the things that I think are important. Those mentors and then reading and just getting more knowledgeable.
If somebody came to you and asked you for advice, what's the best words of wisdom you have for them to in becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I get a lot of that. A lot of people asking me to help them out. The first book I ask them to read is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We're not taught financial literacy in our schools. And that was the first real book that I started my journey, just reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then ended up liking it so much, read Cash Flow Quadrant and the whole series of Kiyosaki books. And then that allowed me to get more and more expansive in my reading. But I think everybody should understand the basics and understand that whose liability is it? Is it yours or the bank's? And just understanding the basics and then going from there. But yeah, I think reading is an important part of developing your skills to be an entrepreneur.
Let's go back in time, AJ. What did you went to university? Where did you go? What did you take?
Yeah, wow, great question. I started off back in 1981. I went to University of Manitoba, took electrical engineering. I thought, and in those days, Mario, you and I can share, but there was only a mainframe on the university campus. We used to punch cards, and I would stand in line with my coded cards and run them through the mainframe, and then take the printout and look for all of the errors, and then reprogram the cards. But in those days, computer engineering was just starting, and I wanted to be a computer engineer. But by my third year, I found out that I didn't have the smarts. The smartest kids in the world were all going into computer engineering at that time. So I left computer engineering and ended up getting my commerce degree at Lakehead University in Thunder Bay. And then from there got hired by Maple Leaf.
So when you went to Lakehead, what were you thinking of in terms of a career and the career path?
After engineering, I knew right away that I wanted to be in business and commerce. My grandfather had a sheet metal shop, And when I was growing up, and I always idolized his lifestyle. Him and my grandmother, my Baba, in those days, Gigi and Baba, they would be able to fly to Barbados or Bahamas, and in the winter come back, their skin would be brown. And growing up as a kid, I always thought, oh, I want to have that life. And I thought that lifestyle would be achieved through business.
Okay, and but you
And
probably
doing
didn't realize that at that time as a kid how much work it would take.
No, that's the thing. When I was in corporate life, I was in corporate life for 15 years. And I thought it was easy. I had a lot of support. You have an HR department in Toronto, let's say, and you got a marketing department, etc. And I just had to manage a budget and run a bunch of people, and I was very successful at it. But being an entrepreneur and having all that on your shoulders is completely different. Being an entrepreneur is 10 times harder, I believe, than working in the corporate life and facilitating or being just a functional department head.
Yeah. No, so you are based in Edmonton, but as you said, you have a lot of work and dealings in Calgary. What are the benefits as a business person for being based in Alberta?
Yeah, Alberta's it's just a great place to live. Obviously, our tax environment is significantly lower than the rest of the country. I believe, one of the things that I really loved about Alberta when I moved to Calgary in '89. When I was in Ontario, Ontario really didn't talk much about politics or didn't have a strong view on politics. I moved to Calgary, and I fell in love with David Rutherford. I don't know if you know David, and David's talk shows. Yeah, exactly. And just listening to the debates and the politics and understanding the issues of business and tax, and then guys like Ralph Klein and how his success story. And I just think Alberta is one of the best provinces to live in. They're very, very much free thinkers, very supportive of entrepreneurs and the business community. And I think, if there's anywhere in Canada, and we've lived in Ontario and Alberta, hands down, best province in the world.
All right. So in this day and age, everybody talks about quote unquote work-life balance. Do you think you have it?
As an entrepreneur, I'm not sure if you ever have it, Mario. But I do love to golf. That is my hobby now. I'm a football fan. I played sports. My dad was a high school phys ed teacher, so he got us involved in every sport. But now I gravitate to football. I love Canadian and American football. I'm a seasons ticket holder of the Minnesota Vikings. So
wow.
Yeah, so that's how much I love football.
What they call the purple,
the purple people eaters back in our time, way back when. Yes. So those are my hobbies, and my wife and I love to travel. We never did have kids. We spent that budget on travel. So traveling all over the world is another hobby of ours.
Okay, so I got to ask you, why Minnesota Vikings?
Well, and when I grew up in Thunder Bay, that was the team that was on the American Channel team. So you just fall in love, and it's only 7 hours from Thunder Bay south, so that's why.
Oh, okay, super then. And any, over the years, any favorite travel spots that you've enjoyed?
Oh, yeah. I when we lived in Cyprus, my wife today, if I said we're packing up and going back to the Middle Eastern culture, she would do it in a flash. While we were there, we were able to travel to Israel, Jordan, Egypt, all the Mediterranean, southern Greece, and all of Europe. So that part of the life we really love, and we love Europe. Italy, France, Spain are all areas that we love to visit. We've been to China. We loved Shanghai, Beijing and the Wall, Thailand. So we just love it all. We just love enjoying the culture and just seeing how other people live.
Okay, super then. Well, thanks, AJ, for joining us today.
It was absolutely my pleasure. Thank you very much, Mario.
All right, super. That was AJ Slivinski, who is president of Mayfield Management Group based in Edmonton. This is Mario Toneguzzi with Edmonton's podcast on Canada's Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us today.